Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jocks of All Trades podcast. I'm Brad, joined by Kyle and Jay. Guys, we all were kind of together-ish a little bit for the draft. That's awesome. We had a whole bunch of people hang out with us, kind of walk through the picks, but we didn't get a chance to break down those picks, and that is entirely what this entire episode is dedicated to. Gonna go ahead and start out by thanking Afro Latinos for supporting us, helping us rebrand and change a lot of things that we got going on. Also going to shout out Fresh Cuts, Caleb Kemper. It is not just a haircut, it's an experience. He is our one and only sponsor right now. Love his work, love what he does. Thankful for his support. He is local to Marion, Indiana. I know you both don't live where I do, but for those that do listen where we are, give him a call. If not, go to freshcutbarbershop.com and book with him. Mondays and Tuesdays are his kind of more available days. Hit him up, reach out to him, and see what he's got. Well, with that being said, guys, let me figure out where I want to start here. Give me one sec. Let's do our top 5 winners and top 5 losers of this draft. Kyle, do you want to go first?
Yeah. You want me to just go in order? I'll just
have at
it. All right. So my top 5 winners in this draft, I would say number 1 is the Jets. Every pick that they made, every move that they made seemed to just work. Getting Ahmad Gardner, amazing. Trading back up in the first round, getting Jaylen Johnson, that's incredible. Getting Breece Hall, getting Max Mitchell in the 4th round. It just seemed like every move they made just really, worked. And I love what they did in the draft. And then their number 2 pick after Ahmad Gardner was Garrett Wilson. And I mean, you could mark him down as probably the best receiver in the draft, I think. Ravens, they just got really good value. They went BPA probably every pick that they had, and that's what they're known for. They're never going to reach. They never do. Getting Kyle Hamilton at 14, that's amazing. Getting Linderbaum at pick 25, I believe. Armour Davis, I love their Alabama boys. Getting Travis Jones in the 3rd round.
Yeah,
that's pretty crazy. Getting Ojabo, who might not even play, but that's okay because he's still only 3 or 4 years into his football career. So him taking a breath, him taking a breather, getting healthy. The Eagles trying not to be biased here, but if you can walk away with 2 of the best defensive players in Georgia, and then also on top of that getting A.J. Brown and then hopefully your replacement for Jason Kelce, it's pretty incredible without having to give up any more picks in later years. The Lions, solely for taking Aiden Hutchinson, number 2, I feel like that's such a Lions thing to screw up, and they didn't. But beyond that, getting Jameson Williams and then Kirby Joseph as well. And then the Chiefs, I thought, did pretty well with, even though they got rid of Tyreek Hill, kind of replenishing their offense, replenishing their defense. I did a really good draft too. So those are my top 5 winners.
Nice. Jay?
Well, the top of my list would be David Ojabo going to the Ravens. I really liked that pick. Like Kyle said, he may not even play this year because of the torn ACL, but he'll get a chance to sit with his former defensive coordinator that he was with in Michigan and get a chance to sit back and relax and learn the scheme, see where he fits. And once his ACL heals, because ACLs aren't a long-term thing as long as they used to be. It used to be 16 months to 2 years to truly recover. But you've seen some guys, even Kevin Durant had an Achilles tear, and he came back in 13 months. So it's possible that with good rehab and a good system that I think Baltimore has, he has an opportunity to just shine, not necessarily on the field, but what he learns and picks up, sitting on the sidelines. And my second winner would be, I may be a little biased in this, but this will probably be like number 4 on my list, but Desmond Ridder going to the Falcons. It's kind of like a mid-grade B draft grade for me, even though we're not doing grades. But if I had to grade that, because it's the same kind of he literally said out of his mouth, he compares himself to Marcus Mariota, and then they draft him, and he's basically gonna compete for the starting job with Marcus Mariota. Who wins out, I don't know. But to kind of tag that along, Drake London being pegged by some to be the offensive rookie of the year. I don't know how that's going to play out with either Marcus Mariota or Desmond Ridder being our quarterback, but that shows you the level of potential and the picks that they made. And outside of that, it was just sound defensive picks. So I liked their draft. I liked the way they picked. I also liked the way the Ravens picked. They used their first 3 picks on defense, which is, not something, not a shocker. They got rid of an injury-prone wide receiver. The return was, I think you guys get Sky Moore?
No. That ended up being Linderbaum. We didn't take any receivers.
Yes. Okay. So, but you retooled on defense. You got a strong center. Not the longest arms, but he's very rough and he'll get at you in a heartbeat. So I can really vibe with the way you guys picked, and you can't go wrong with how the Jets picked either. They picked a lot of sound picks, and they went for best player available, and also while attacking needs, and that had to be very savvy. And to trade back up into the 3rd round to snatch another player, it's just like the icing on the cake. They did most of the dirty work in the 1st round. Yeah. And they were very effective in attacking what they needed and how they needed to do it. And my last winner, I'm kind of tagging along with something I read earlier, but the Georgia having 15 picks in the draft, a lot of it was defense. Majority was defense, and that shows the testament of sound system, and it really opened a lot of doors to a lot of new style of defense, because these players are coming in playing certain schemes that are from Kirby Smart's playbook, and they're going in and fitting on the system, and they're just going to excel on what they've already learned. It's a good defensive minded coach, so I see high hopes for a lot of the top picks, whether it be Devontae Wyatt or Jordan Davis. I like where Jordan Davis went, even though some people don't like the fact that he went to Philly to play along with Graham. But it's gonna Fletcher Cox. It's gonna help him to progress. I liked Philly's picks as well. They were very sound in the way they picked for their team, and they obviously had an agenda in mind to fill a lot of holes and create a lot of depth, which they did both. So I think that would be my 5 winners.
I like it. Kyle, our lists are going to sound the same. I have the Eagles at number 1, actually. And I think that A.J. Brown trade just kind of pushed them just over the top of where I would have had the Jets. Jordan Davis, I was upset until I thought about it. I was like, okay, actually, Jordan Davis, while he's a unicorn, is still a project because he got gassed on some downs. Sometimes it looked like he would just give up during the play. They're going to have to give him some time to get into that mindset of the NFL type of defense. Like, you can get away with that in college, but not in the pros.
I'm not sure if you noticed this. I don't know if it was on the draft or it might have been on an Eagles special, but in the SEC championship game, he was 360 pounds. He went down to 340 for the championship and then played out of his mind.
Yep.
So, if they can keep his weight down, then you're going to get, a really productive pass rusher as well as run stuffer. But if he's going to balloon up to 360, 370, you're not going to get much out of him. So, they have to monitor that and make sure he doesn't,
The first player that came to mind when I thought about Jordan Davis, and this is just because I'm a Bama football person, Terrence Cody first came to my mind. I was like, he's very built like Terrence Cody. There's just big, knows like just destroy plays, just come in and just dominate. But his problem was his weight. And I'm wondering if Jordan Davis is going to have that similar issue. But Nakobe Dean in the third round, a guy everyone had pretty much said was going in the first, like that just pushed them so much further to have two of those guys that have played together. Once they're both on the field, they know how to play with each other. Nakobe Dean was very much kind of the brain of that defense. I mean, yeah, it's Kirby Smart and the defensive coordinators, but Nakobe Dean knew what was happening. That's the guy that blew up plays. That's the guy that came in and wrecked stuff, and that's who you just got in the third round. So, yeah, the Eagles won that draft by far.
And then to your point, not to cut you off about Nakobe Dean,
You're good.
you know the whole issue of why he went in the third round instead of in the first round?
Medical issues?
Yes. Potential pectoral tear that could have involved having surgery. But turns out, not even a thing. He's right now, okay, it's right here. Per source, he declined surgery and is now a major flag risk. Now, this was posted a couple of days ago, but he's scheduled to be full participation in OTAs next week.
Nice. That'll be really good for Philly.
Just waiver wire stuff, man. Costing you potential, just chatter. Things that people don't know about,
Yeah, and that too, like they said he was undersized. That's also a reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's the NFL. Like we're having 5'10" quarterbacks doing, you know what I mean? Like being undersized is not as much of a problem. Now, if he was like 190, I'd be like, okay, yeah, he's going to get smushed. But being 6 foot compared to 5'11" or 6'1", like that's not
much of a difference.
If you can play
sideline to sideline and you can see the quarterback, you can see the ball. That's all that matters, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
For sure. Who else, Brad?
Eagles at 1 then. Nakobe Dean stole that for them. A.J. Brown, Jordan Davis. Very top-heavy draft, but that's fine because those three guys should contribute right away. Second, it has to be the Jets. You're right. Yeah. Holy cow. You got 3 guys that are going to come in day 1 in the first round. Then you went and got Breece Hall. Then you went and got Jeremy Ruckert, which I don't think many people are on Jeremy Ruckert just because those Ohio State wide receivers dominated all the time. But Ruckert was a really good receiving threat out of Ohio State. So suddenly you've addressed tight end, running back, because do you remember this last year in fantasy? We said New York's running room sucked besides Michael Carter. Not anymore. Now you got Breece Hall and Michael Carter. That's pretty good 1-2 punch. I'm okay with that.
Because they seem not to be sold on him.
Yes. Yep. He will probably be RB2 by the end of summer. That's my guess.
You think so?
Yeah.
If you had to put him in the range between 40 and 100, where would you put him?
Oh, just like for fantasy and just in general? Depending on how much usage Breece Hall gets, I'd probably put him at 58, 59. Which feels kind of fair for like an RB2. They'll still use him a lot.
Yeah, it just depends on whether he'll get pass downs or if he'll get run downs,
Yeah. Right. I wonder if he's going to be like a Nyheim Hines kind of type for the Jets.
Yeah. Tool.
Yeah.
Like a tool, like a James White type role.
Yes. And then let Breece Hall be that 3-down back that just kind of takes everything. Make him your bell cow.
Yeah. That could work.
Yeah. Third for me is the Ravens. I tried not to be biased. I hated it at first. I went back and looked at it, and I'm like, okay, actually, you know what? We did really good. Linderbaum, yes, undersized. I didn't like it at first because I know he's small, but knowing that Marshall Yanda he's worked with, knowing that he's a big wrestler, knowing that he's got a great anchor system because of wrestling,
yes,
not worried about it. Goodbye, Hollywood Brown, a.k.a. Mr. Drops a lot.
Hard hands. Hard hands.
Yep. I'm not going to cry about that.
That was a steal, by the way. Like, getting A.J. Brown for a first and a third, and then the Ravens getting a first for Holly. Like, A.J. Brown and Hollywood are very different. I mean, like, A.J. Brown played on a run-heavy – I mean, I know Hollywood did too, but A.J. Brown put up the stats, I feel like, and he didn't struggle with –
And he played at least 14 games a year, man. And can you say that about Hollywood?
I don't think so. I mean, like
he played 11 last year.
Yeah, he was inconsistent. I mean, you saw that, Brad. Like that one game, he had like 3 touchdowns, and then next game doesn't even get a catch.
4 drops.
Drops everything. So
Mike Williams Houdini.
yeah, exactly. Mike Williams is the same. Mike Williams is the same way. Steal.
I just want to read out what the Ravens got. I'm not trying to be biased, but just tell me how many of these guys did we talk about going in the first round at any point during this mock period? Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, David Ojabo, Travis Jones, Daniel Falele. That's 5 guys that we've talked about over the span of our mock drafts from the beginning until now that all at some point had a first-round draft grade and were in the top 150 recruits. If you can do that in your first 5 picks, I think you won. Now granted, are they all going to be those big, huge all-pro guys? No, they're not. The system doesn't work that way. But you want to talk about value, that's pretty value. And I'm coming around on the Isaiah Likely trade because if I thought about it, I went back and watched some tape. He got used as a receiver a whole lot at Coastal Carolina. So yeah, maybe he'll kind of come out and be like a second Mark Andrews type, but faster, sure. A little smaller. Good hands, though. I'm cool with it. So, yeah, I'm really biased, but I loved what the Ravens did. I have to give a shout-out to the Giants, and the only reason is their first 2 picks.
Yeah.
Because if you can pull out Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, their ceilings are so incredibly high that if they coach them right and get everything out of them, they could be the winners of this draft. They really could. Because Evan Neal could be an anchor for like 10 years? We've talked about how long tackles last. Kayvon Thibodeau could come in and destroy that entire division because, let's be honest, the Cowboys aren't great. No. Philly is okay. The Commanders really suck. Like, if they manage to put it together, they could be a 9-8, 10-7 team. You know, sneaky little playoff
team. Push if
yes.
Saquon can stay healthy. They can get a wide receiver there taller than 6 foot. They might be all right.
They could get rid of Kenny Golladay and.
Oh no! I'm telling you, mark my words.
You believe in Golladay?
Give up on Kenny Golladay.
No way.
They need a solid number 2 to take a little bit of pressure off of him.
I agree with that. Kadarius Toney did not come out to be what they wanted him to be.
And Kadarius Toney is coming out to not want to be a part of their team anymore.
I don't know what he's doing.
I don't know, man.
Who cares? It's not like
guys. Napoleon syndrome, man.
Yeah.
It's not like he contributed enough to do anything anyways. So at that point, just let him go. I don't care.
Well, the funny thing is too, the Jaguars were going to take him if the Giants didn't. And that's Urban Meyer. Imagine Urban Meyer, just another thing with getting Kadarius. You know what I mean? Like, that's so Urban Meyer to take Kadarius Toney. But you're right. They if Thibodeau proves to be what we think he can be, I mean, the Giants desperately need pass rush. Like, that was the one thing I feel like their defense was really missing last year was their pass rush. Like, their run game was good. They got Leonard Williams in there. He can take care of his own. Like, he's one of the best run-stuffing D tackles in the league. Their linebackers were fine, and their secondary was pretty good, actually. But their pass rush was pretty non-existent.
They left their defense, their back guys having to play a lot harder and getting a lot more penalties because they were not getting any pressure.
Yeah, and Thibodeau kind of reminds me of he's a very outgoing guy, like a very aware of himself.
It's just that stigmatism that'll hold him back.
He reminds me of Michael Strahan and a lot, actually. Like the guy that's gonna really piss you off and get on your nerves for the next 10 years. Like, but like he's a good guy. It's just like he's one of those guys that's just gonna be like always in your face, always making plays, and just really gonna annoy the heck out of you. So, after those first 2 picks, I was kind of like, Giants, what are you, like Wan'Dale Robinson? That's a little bit early there, guys. But other than that, I think they had a pretty good draft too. Yeah.
Hey, don't sleep on Wan'Dale. He grew an inch over a year, man. He might actually be a 6-foot wide receiver one day. I'm telling you, he's got good hands, man.
He's definitely a Kadarius Toney kind of receiver. Yeah. So maybe that's what they're thinking is Toney's not going to be on the team for much longer, so we need to replace him. So, like, that makes sense, but they have so many receivers right now. It's just like, get rid of one, would you? It's
So we did winners. Let's go to losers. Let's not do grades this one because we have a lot to talk about, and I feel like we could just take a whole pod on just grades.
Okay.
So we're gonna save grades. I know originally I said no, and then I said yes, and then I said no because it's been a long week. Let's go top 5 losers. This ought to be interesting. Lots of guys could take this category. Kyle, you started, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So my number 5 loser would be the Patriots. Coming out of this draft, I just really thought Belichick lost his marbles, honestly. Cole Strange at the end of the first, will Cole Strange be good? Maybe. It's a draft. You don't really know. But I feel like they could have gotten him in the second or third. I mean, if you look at McVay, they were doing an interview with him after the first round, or during the first round, and McVay and his GM saw that Cole Strange, when it picked 29, they started laughing because they were like, why do they even scout that guy? I thought he was going to be available at pick 104. So Tyquan Thornton in the second round? No, just because a guy runs a 4.27 doesn't mean they're going to be good. Can I remind you of John Ross a few years ago who's done nothing?
It's their last pick, N'Keal Harry.
They don't. That one TikTok that you sent me, Brad, it just always keeps coming back to me. They have no idea how to draft or get good receivers.
No,
it's insane. Marcus Jones, I do like out of Houston, a very good kick returner, punt returner. But why he kind of fell to round 3 was injuries. So Jack Jones had a lot of off the field issues. People didn't expect him to go at round 4. And then they go ahead and get 2 running backs. I'm sorry. Don't you? The number 1 team in the NFL who has too many running backs, it's always the Patriots. They have 17 of them. So I don't understand this draft at all. I really don't. I feel like Belichick has lost his marbles.
Chaos. They're just picking out of the litter.
They are. They're just out of the hat. Who do I want? Pick it up. There it is. I don't get it. Raiders, just because they didn't pick forever. And, I do like Dylan Parham, but after that, it gets pretty bad. Dolphins, kind of same thing. They didn't pick for forever. And then getting Channing Tindall, I think it's pretty good and will be decent. But it's just like the Raiders and Dolphins both getting stud receivers. That's nice. But you're both teams that need to rebuild a little bit, and getting these stud receivers who are on, I would say, the back legs of their prime, it doesn't make much sense. And then, they don't have Matt Stafford at quarterback to do this. They have Tua and Derek Carr. So I guess their drafts and their offseason doesn't make sense to me. Jaguars, I think they made a horrible pick with Trayvon Walker. I would have went Aiden Hutchinson all the way. Trading back up for Devin Lloyd's nice. Then they go ahead and get Chad Muma as well. I don't think they have enough spots because they just signed, I believe, a linebacker from the Falcons this offseason to a big contract. So pretty sure the NFL runs a lot of nickel. There's not many teams that run with 3 linebackers on the field at a time. It just doesn't happen anymore. So that's a little weird to me. And then the Bears, they hate Justin Fields. I'm confident they do because
they did nothing to help him.
Nothing at all. His starting receiver is Darnell Mooney. It's not good. So, yeah, those are the top 5 losers for me.
Well, if we have to get started, I'm going to be really mostly piggybacking off of you because basically everything maybe in different orders, but it's basically the same. Cleveland. No, not Cleveland. I'm sorry. We'll start with the Patriots. Just the craziness in the picks. It just doesn't make sense. They weren't really looking like they were trying to fill needs, more just stuff holes with players and hopefully making something stick, which really isn't the best strategy when you're trying to retool a team. You retool based on need. I don't know what you may have thought your needs were, but your scouts are wrong. And the players that they grabbed weren't even close to anybody's radar. Will some of them turn out to be good? Who knows? Who knows? But I bank on no. Quarterbacks in this draft, They are clearly the losers because the one person no one expected not to go in the first round went at pick 20, and that was Kenny Pickett. And it wasn't to the team that anyone thought he was going to. And then there wasn't another quarterback picked until lucky number 74,
Yeah.
So it was a clear loss for them. There was so much hype surrounding them in the draft. So much was around it. So much was just like, oh, this guy could go in the first round. They had lists of quarterbacks projected 6 pick, 8 pick, 3, even as up as far as 3. And it just all just fell apart. And it was just a testament to how much hype can just, that inflation bubble just pops and everything just goes away. And whatever you thought was real is just make believe. And people thought that Carolina had to just reach out there and take a quarterback at number 1. They didn't. And everyone thought they were crazy for doing it. And then Matt Carell falls to them in the 4th round. Who would ever thunk it?
Yeah.
So they were clear losers. But maybe these quarterbacks go to teams that can help them build, and they don't necessarily have to go in and be the day 1 starter. Some of these guys, and the Patriots getting Zappy, I don't understand that either. I don't understand that either. In the 4th round, no less. Why? Why would you take him there? I don't get it. I'm sorry. I digress though. And that's not well. Cleveland the picks were decent. They didn't really fulfill too many needs, but they have Deshaun Watson and a very loaded offense. I don't think I have really any more gripes other than just to be saying the same things he was saying. Maybe Jacksonville, but that's because they're Jacksonville.
Yep.
Commanders picks suck, but they didn't have many in the middle rounds to try to fix and plug holes in the guys that felt like.
Yeah, they weren't great either. They got another Alabama boy. Don't they have enough Alabama guys in their defensive line?
I don't know.
That part that are halfway unproductive.
Right. Like
they took Brian Robinson Jr. Thank you very much.
and him. It's when they already have Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick. Like I
didn't understand that. I'm like
the Tennessee Titans. I feel like they're losers because they gave away their true number 1.
Yeah.
And what did they do to replace them?
They got Traylon Burks, who might be A.J. Brown, but we're not sure yet.
Might be.
Yeah.
Offensive line needs a little bit more work. I don't think they did enough to attack the key needs to protect Derrick Henry. Some good guard play. But I don't believe in Trayvon Burks. I'm just going to be the one that says that. I'm going to put my hand up and say I don't think Traylon Burks is going to be anything worthwhile. I think they would have been better off just paying A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
could be.
Because why give up a sure thing for a roll of a dice that's cheap? It's just because it's cost avert. Just trying to save money.
Yeah.
It's shopping them off to somebody else.
But that's like the going rate for receivers. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Even if Burks turns out to be decent, he's going to want the same thing that A.J. Brown did. Like, I feel like when you have a stud number 1, like that's the going rate now. So pony up or get someone worse. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And it looks like, they're just rolling the dice right now and seeing how it works out. That's it for me.
All right. Let's tear people apart. It was fitting that we keep talking about rolling the dice, and it was in Las Vegas because a lot of people did exactly that. Just, pick him. Sure, why not? He's got a fun name. Like, these teams just gave up. Let's start with my number 5. You guys are gonna hate this. The Cincinnati Bengals. Like, I will give them this. Your first 2 picks were great. You addressed the secondary. I think Cam Taylor-Britt is one of those really good corners out of Nebraska. Fantastic. Good for him. Daxton Hill can play safety, can play corner. Good. Great picks. Eli Apple is a turd, and you needed to replace him at any way possible. But then, okay, they signed nobodies on the offensive line in free agency, right? Cool, whatever. Surely they'll draft someone at a decent time with a very, very deep draft of corners. We won't just pick corners for our first 2 picks. No, we'll take an offensive tackle or a guard or something. They wait till round 4. They must hate Joe Burrow. Go ahead. You do not like Joe Burrow. I complained about it last year. I'm going to do it again this year. How did they lose the Super Bowl, guys? Was it because Jamar Chase didn't do enough? Was it because Joe Burrow just wasn't slinging it enough? No, that Swiss cheese O-line had to stop Aaron Donald. Yeah. That's why you lost the Super Bowl. And everyone's like, well, Jamar Chase got him there. No, Joe Burrow got them there, first of all. Second of all, I love Jamar Chase, but I felt that it was the wrong pick, and I'm going to stand by it again because here is another subpar draft with maybe one good player in it. You're going to waste Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow right now strikes me as very much of an Andrew Luck type. He's going to have his career wasted and retire early because that man, say what you want. Yes, they were in the Super Bowl, but he still got whacked an insane amount of times. How many times did he get hurt last year? Twice? 3 times? What was it? It was more than once. Like, if he's hurt more than once, I would say, I'm an NFL GM, and I think I'll draft an offensive lineman. Like, what do you guys need? Do you need a slap to the face? Do you guys need a cold bucket of water poured on you? Like, you're going to ruin him. So, yeah, it was the Bengals for me at 5. This is my favorite part. I could say winners all I want to, but I love ragging on the losers. Let's go to the second one. When you pick first in the 3rd round, chances are the guys you pick are going to be reachy. Congratulations, Cleveland. You get to be at number 4 in my losers bracket because, okay, Perrion Winfrey, good. David Bell, fine. But Cade York, you took a kicker in the 4th round. Who you a kicker for? You took a center in round 7. Like, you took another receiver in round 6. You took Jerome Ford. Do you guys forget that you have, like, 2 – like the best tandem of running backs in like the NFL, arguably, maybe there's probably somebody better, but tandem, you have 2 of the best. Y'all stupid. What are you gonna do with Jerome Ford? I have to complain about one other thing. If you're gonna trade for Deshaun Watson, make sure he is 100% clean before you give up the whole house and everything for him. Because I don't know if you guys have heard the rumors is that he might still have problems. He may not go. Things may happen that get dicey. He may get a punishment. Something may happen. If you're Cleveland, you're stupid because you're looking at Baker Mayfield's contract and you're looking at Deshaun Watson and you traded for Amari Cooper. That's going to take up most of your cap right there. So what are you going to do? Where are you going to get O-linemen in the future? Where are you going to draft a defense? Because let's be honest, your defense hasn't really shown up either. Even though I like Owosu Koromoa, they took him last year. They took the guy out of Northwestern.
Newsom.
Yeah, that's right, Greg Newsom. Like you have young pieces. They're so stupid with their off-season moves every year. And I'm like, can you be good so that when the Ravens beat you, it makes us look better and we move up the power rankings? Like, can you do that for me for like once? So yeah, I've picked on the Browns and the Bengals. I'm gonna go next. Look, when you pick at 104 and that's your first pick, nothing you do is gonna pan out well. I know what you have. I know what you've signed. I know what you've traded for, but you still need young guys to replace these guys. Donald is almost out. Stafford, how many more years does Stafford have? Like, you're looking at these guys that are at the tail end of their careers. Even Robert Woods. No, Woods got traded to the Titans. Never mind. Woods isn't there. My mistake.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, which that's so great for the Titans. Yay. Anyways, they didn't do anything to move the needle. Does anybody else feel that way, or is it just me? Like they made enough moves to say, oh, we picked guys in the draft. Not enough.
I think they're pretty much the same as they were last year. So I think they can easily get back. Not easily, but I think they can get back there again. Getting Allen Robinson will help.
Maybe, but my argument always is, unless you're the Patriots and you stay the same every year, which even those Patriots teams never stayed the same every year. They changed. If you stay stagnant, you'll fall behind in this league. And that's what I didn't like about the Rams with their draft. Like, you didn't – and you can't do anything. At 104, what are you going to take?
You're kind of stuck. But they play to a very similar philosophy that the Patriots do. Well, you know where the Patriots are weak at is where they can't draft at. You know the only way they get it is through free agency.
That's true.
People. So – they have that ability. They have that flexibility being in a bigger market. So they play the game that way. They don't care about draft picks or GM.
That's true.
Away the first 3 rounds. to get a surefire player, so they don't have to groom him up. They can just pay him and send him on his way. You know, so if it works for you, but like you say, it puts you in the hole.
Yeah.
Pick 104 as your first pick. You know you're not getting an impact player unless you're lucky.
Which it's the Rams. Chances are probably not.
Probably not. So they go for veterans, but they're still losers.
It's true. Let's see. I'm down to 2. It's the Patriots. It's obvious.
Obviously.
What happened? What even happened to them? Like, is Bill Belichick reaching that age where he's just like senile or what? Like, I don't.
I think his dog was picking for him this year. Remember that?
Even took Pierre Strong in the 4th round, a guy that could have probably easily lasted to 6 or 7.
Like, I like Pierre Strong. I do
too, but
I just don't know. Like, he's not going to see the field. You know, why do you? I don't know.
Wasting a pick.
Even better, they took 2 running backs.
Yeah.
I'm like, again, do you hate your roster? Like,
they have 3 running backs on their roster.
Exactly. And then they took Zappy, which I get it.
Yeah, they just re-signed James White. They have Stevenson, Bolden. So now you draft 2 more. So that's 5. You're going into the training camp with 5 running backs.
Yeah, and Damian Harris. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going into the training camp with 6 running backs. What are you going to do with that?
Now, who is Mac Jones' backup? I can't remember. It's not.
It's Hoyer. It's Hoyer still.
Hoyer.
Like, I think they're hoping that Zappy can become the next Hoyer. But like, why not? I don't know. Why not draft like Sam Howell instead and potentially
or Carson Strong
and potentially like trade them later? Like that's what they used to do. Remember when they had Brady and then they got Jimmy G? Like they develop these guys and trade them later. Like you're probably not going to do that with Bailey Zappi. He's probably going to be a career backup. So yeah.
Which it might be good for them. They need one. I mean, Hoyer is serviceable. Like not even good, just serviceable.
He's a half sticky Band-Aid.
He's listed as quarterback. That's how good he is. He's just listed as quarterback. Not he can make good throws. Nope, he's just a quarterback. And that's what the Patriots say. Good. Stamp a seal of approval. We're cool with that. My last one. Kyle has already talked about it, but I'm going to break it down a little further because I said this a week ago before the draft, and now that the draft is over, I'm going to reiterate it. When new GMs come in, when new coaches come in, when a whole new staff comes in, and there is a quarterback that has already been there, they typically don't take a big liking to the quarterback that has already been there. They would prefer to have their quarterback. They would prefer to have their regime. And I'm going to go ahead and say that the Bears are the dumbest team in the NFL. Trade Fields at this point. You must hate Fields. Velus Jones in the 3rd round? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like he's okay. But again, he's not better than Darnell Mooney.
No.
Like they must hate.
They need an offensive line.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bad.
So they hate Montgomery. They hate Fields. They hate their receivers. Like if I was a Bears player, I'd retire. I'm out. I'll take my money. I'm done. Like you took an O lineman in the 5th round. How many O linemen in the 5th round and later actually turn up to be something? None of them do.
Not many.
None of them, except for small, itty little portion.
Like Jordan Mailata, who got drafted in the 7th round. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Like
Wes Schweitzer, he was drafted in the 5th round, but he's serviceable.
Yeah. You can find a lot of good ones, but like it's rare. You know, like there were so many other guys. I mean, I like Kyler Gordon. I obviously like Jaquan Brisker. Don't get me wrong, but like they,
Be prepared to
drafted Jaylen Johnson a couple years ago from Utah. They drafted Jaylen Johnson a couple years from Utah, and he was really good his rookie year, like to the point where people are like, he's going to be like an all-pro. And then they go ahead and retool their secondary, but they did just get rid of Khalil Mack. You would think maybe they would focus on the defensive line, maybe. I don't know. It's just their moves don't really make that much sense. Like you said, Brad, deep secondary class, and they go ahead and get 2 with their first 2 picks. So I don't know.
Maybe they believe a little bit more in their front 7 than we give it credit for. Maybe they see a little bit more. there's potential there. If you they just had to break down that Khalil Mack contract. They couldn't take it anymore.
Probably, you're probably right. And I think if Montgomery had not performed so well behind a crappy O-line, then maybe they would have invested more in the O-line further.
Yeah.
Because Fields was still, again, not horrid behind that O-line. Like, he wasn't the worst thing we've ever seen, but he needs help.
He's not accurate at all. And it sucks when you're behind a shaky O-line. If your accuracy is already bad, right? You're below average in accuracy.
Yep.
Your scrambling can only compensate for so much. And then you have a bad offensive line. If you don't have a chance to get out of the pocket and you're trying to step up into a collapsed pocket and your accuracy is already trash, he's not going to progress the way he's supposed to. And then he's going to be looked at as an inaccurate quarterback when in actuality, he's a quarterback that doesn't have offensive line to protect him.
Which is good if you're not a Bears fan. That means somebody can say, we need a quarterback. Let's trade for Justin Fields. They might trade him for a 4th or 5th rounder, maybe a 3rd, something cheap, because they'll be like, he's trash. And then he gets in a good spot and he does really well.
Because they want to start Gardner Minshew. I know it. I heard from a source. They want to start Gardner Minshew.
I love Gardner Minshew, but also it'd
be the best thing with that mustache, man. The mustache gives him powers or something.
Powers. He's like reverse Samson. Sorry. Let's do top 5 value picks. I do like going from 5 to 1. Let's keep that going. That's kind of fun. I'm curious to see what's at the top of everybody's list. Kyle, go ahead and start us out. Do you have a top 5 of like value picks? If it has to be 3, that's fine.
Yeah. You guys can go 5 to 1. I just feel like my 3, pretty much everyone will have. My first 3, like Nakobe Dean's number 1 for me. So like we've talked about him enough. Kyle Hamilton, the Ravens. I feel like I've talked about him enough. Jermaine Johnson, the Jets. I feel like I've talked about him enough. But the other 2, Bernard Raymond to the Colts in the 3rd round. I think that's a really good value. When we looked at these tackle prospects over and over and over, I mean, this guy really stuck out to me just because I have a big believer in linemen that have played tight end and then transferred to, tackle or guard position because they have that just athleticism already about them. He's a massive human being who's very agile and fast for a lineman. And I think he'll start right away for the Colts on day 1. Like they were looking for a stud tackle, and I think they found one in the 3rd round with Raymond. I feel like the Bears probably should have maybe gotten him with one of their picks. They had the ability to, but they didn't. I don't know why. A lot of those guys that are like giant, like 6'7", 6'8", they don't have that mobility, but he does. Like Daniel Falele from the Ravens, who's 6'9", 400 pounds, he's not going to move that fast, all right? But like Raymond, he can. He does. And then Leo Chanal to the Chiefs in the 3rd round. A very underrated linebacker from Wisconsin. Reminds you a lot of a TJ Watt. He's like 6'2", 260. He has the quickness of a like every down linebacker, but also a lot of pass rush moves as well, and incredibly athletic. Gets in the backfield a lot. Is only 21 years old. I think the Chiefs are going to be able to move him around quite a bit, and I think he's going to be like nasty for them. He's not your typical defensive end. He's not your typical linebacker. A little bit of a tweener, but I think that's going to work out for his career. I think he can be. I think he can be every down like 3-4 outside linebacker. So I would say that's my last value pick.
Nice.
Okay. Well, I'll start with my number 5. That would be Malik Willis going to the Tennessee Titans in the 3rd round, 86th pick. I thought that was a good value for the Titans because they're getting what I believe to be the successor to Ryan Tannehill.
Yep.
It's the quarterback that most felt in the draft to have the most upside.
Yep.
So to see him go to a team where he doesn't necessarily have to come in and chuck the ball 30, 35 times a game, that you can allow the running game of Derrick Henry to punish them, and he can also take a bite out of that and kind of put a 2.0 to kind of Lamar Jackson, Baltimore style running offense, bring that more into the league in the AFC. I think that would help him to progress. But I can see that's a great pick for me. I like that one a lot. Sam Howell going in the 5th round to the Commanders. I saw that as another good pick because he was also projected to be in a lot of people's drafts around the 1st round, around the first 40 picks. In a lot of drafts, he was the 3rd quarterback off the board in most drafts. So I can see the upside with him. He has an ability to bounce off players. He kind of reminds you of a more fit and less injury-prone version of Carson Wentz. So with the style of moving around that they do, ping-ponging, just that Carson Wentz is just built like tissue paper, as I said before.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's another good pick for me at number 4. Number 3, a little biased, Desmond Ridder to the Falcons at 75. He's got that inaccuracy tag put on him. Not the most accurate quarterback, but moves well in the pocket, can scramble, does have decent speed to the 4.64 in the combine, so it's not bad for a quarterback. And he doesn't necessarily have to come in and start either. He can sit back and take a year to learn the system, get better. Be that scout quarterback, learn a little bit, and wait for his opportunity. You may not like this one, but I also said Matt Carell going to the Panthers in the 3rd round. The Panthers did jump up to take him, and if he had to go anywhere more chaotic, it may have been better for him. But with I think with Desmond Ridder being off the board, they took a chance on him because it kind of fits in that hybrid quarterback mode where he can either run or pass. He's a little bit more accurate, but he holds the ball a lot longer, and that's the one thing that gets him in trouble, not being able to look off reads, not being able to process. But if he can get a good coordinator, good quarterback coach in there to get that other motor in his head going, he can be a very serviceable, maybe even a 4 or 5 year guy, if he can put the pieces together, especially if they allow him to sit back and let this offensive line improve a little bit. But I like that pick. And number 1 would have to be Nakobe Dean. He got picked and went to a very good team that will give him a lot of opportunities to be who he was with Georgia, because he's got a good head on his shoulders. He was the quarterback on the defense, and I think that he'll have a great opportunity just to be top tier contributor day one. He's full. He had a flag on him for health, but he's full participant in OTAs. I'll keep my eye on him, but I feel like he's going to be a good contributor.
Agreed. I'm going to pick the other ones that are different from everybody else. So I had Nakobe Dean and Malik Willis as my top 2. My 3rd, I couldn't decide which pick I liked better, whether I liked Breece Hall or Jeremy Ruckert better. I liked both. Both were stupid amounts of wealth to an offense that needs that kind of.
What is up with you and this Ruckert guy, man? I don't share the hype. Ruckert, I don't share the hype. He's a little undersized. Are you not afraid of that?
No.
Are you not afraid of that?
No, it's the Jets. So either he'll be really good or he'll suck. So,
come on, man! You got to get off that Rucker hype.
I've hyped him up.
Not. My favorite is Isaiah Likely. Currently, I liked him. I didn't think he'd come to the Ravens, and I was like, oh, cool. I know what you can do. I'll take him. Like my favorite, dark horse. Ruckert is a dark horse. Ruckert is not McBride. Ruckert is not Cade Otton. Ruckert is not one of those guys, but he's one of those smaller, maybe you wouldn't think of him as a legitimate threat kind of guys. That's why I like him.
Like Calvin Austin, undersized.
Yes.
Did he get drafted?
He did.
Yeah,
he went to the Steelers, and it made me really mad.
Yeah, that makes me mad too. That lets me know they're not going to use him.
Yeah. It was one pick before the Ravens. I'm like, yes, Calvin Austin's going to fall to us, goes to the Steelers. All right. Okay. All right. It's fine.
Dude, everyone screwed over the Ravens in this draft. Like if you watched it live, the announcers were like, everybody traded in front of the Ravens and took their guys. Ravens was like, all right, we'll take the next best guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So, for doing that, I mean, the Ravens had a pretty good draft. So like,
Yep.
So they did what they had to do with what they got. They didn't do the Ozzie Smith thing, huh? And that's Cleveland. Sorry.
Speaking of the Ravens, my second one was David Ojabo to the Ravens, only because he had a day one grade. Originally, do you remember our first drafts? We had him going in the top 15, top 10.
Yeah.
Like that's how good he was graded. And he fell all the way to the second round. Now I'm trying not to be biased. I just thought if you can get a guy with a day one grade outside of day one, you're kind of winning in terms of value. That's excellent value. My last one, it's hard to say in round one that you got a value pick, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. And it's not for the team anyone's going to think it's going to be for. It's for the Commanders. I'm going to say that Jahan Dotson pick was really value for them because there's no number 2 there. Who would be your number 2 behind McLaurin? Which Dotson even has the potential to be the number 1 because they don't want to pay McLaurin. We were talking about McLaurin being on the move this offseason. So if they do move McLaurin, who cares? You got Jahan Dotson, the guy that a lot of analysts were saying is like Tyreek Hill-ish in terms of like his style of play. And Tyreek Hill has made it as an undersized player that's really fast and done really well. Jahan Dotson could be the next guy. They've also said it about Jameson Williams. They just like these small guys with speed. And for a Commanders team that has zero culture, zero anything, it's going to be nice if Toilet Paper Man can decide he wants to throw downfield because suddenly you have 2 legitimate threats. So it was weird because he was the one receiver that everyone thought had a day one grade, but nobody wanted to touch him. But I feel like he's going to come into his own and do really well with the Commanders just because it's the Commanders. It's not going to be hard to do well. But I still think it was really value. I think it was value for the Commanders. They needed to address it. And instead of reaching for like Sky Moore or Christian Watson or somebody they could have gotten later, they picked the perfect guy in Jahan Dotson. That is my whole reasoning for that pick.
That's a good point because, like, I think Treylon Burks is, I think for a lot of teams, is still a little bit of an unknown. Like, what kind of receiver is he going to be? And if they would not have taken Jahan Dotson there, they would have been stuck at their next pick and probably taken one of those guys that you're talking about. And, you know, it's kind of like it's iffy. You know, we don't know if Sky Moore, if Christian Watson, if they, you know, who else? Romeo Dobbs or Jalen Tolbert, guys like that. What'd you say, Brad?
Khalil Shaker, the because they were like, well, he could be a day 2 guy.
Yeah, but like you're right. Jahan Dotson's like maybe picked a little bit early from where I had him.
Yes,
but that's only because there were other like really good players on the board. But I mean, as far as receivers go, and I'm trying not to be biased here, but Jahan Dotson's
he's pretty
good at pretty much everything. Like he's not like elite size or like Tyreek Hill fast, but he is really fast and he uses his hands and his body like a big receiver.
And if you look at the type of receivers they've drafted, he's like McLaurin. McLaurin didn't get all that love coming into the draft. Yeah. McLaurin didn't get. He's the fastest guy, the biggest guy. That you know.
You're just
look how well he's coming to his own. Yeah.
And if Howell will take over someday, which I think he will, because Wentz can't stay on the field, then like he'll step into a pretty good situation. Other than their offensive line, that needs a lot of work. But like running backs, tight end, receivers, they're good to go. So.
Oh yeah. Logan Thomas. I forgot about Logan Thomas.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Yep.
That's pretty good. I know. I figured he's your budget TJ Hawkinson. That's what he is in fantasy. So let's do 3 redraft picks. We're all smart guys. We all know football. I know there were picks that all 3 of us probably hated. Let's go back and change 3 picks on draft night. Who you would change and where they would go, or what team should have taken what, however you want to do that. But I'm going to move us to redraft. If nobody has any or has like an idea of how to do it, I'll go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
This one's going to be obvious, but I like Trayvon Walker. I really do. I think he has a great draft. I still think if you're the Jaguars and you have the guy with a high ceiling that's more questionable because he didn't get as much use in college because he didn't have to get as much use in college, or you take the other guy that got a whole bunch of usage in college and kind of blew it up, I would take the guy that blew it up. Like, I'm not against Trayvon Walker. I have nothing wrong with Trayvon Walker. But if you had the choice between Hutchinson and Trayvon Walker, I probably would have taken Hutchinson. So I'm going to ding the Jags on that. Like, there's nothing wrong with Trayvon Walker. I still think it was a solid pick. I just think if you have that guy on the board that's more proven, take the proven guy, because Trayvon didn't get the chance. So, of course, there's always going to be the big, he could be a bust. He could be, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to happen because we don't have enough tape. Yeah. Like, there's not enough tape of him doing what Hutchinson did. So that would be my first one.
It's the Big Ten, too. Like,
go ahead.
Just piggyback off of that. It's the Big Ten, too. Like, if it was Aiden Hutchinson from the Big 12, the Pac-12, then I'd be okay, maybe. But the Big Ten's a pretty good conference. It might not be like the SEC, but it's pretty darn close to it. Like, you look at the receivers that have come out from the Big Ten, they perform really well. Why? Because Big Ten has gained a lot of speed, a lot of momentum, and a lot of good recruits over the last few years. And Hutchinson did that on the Big Ten level. So, like, usually if you can do that on the SEC level, people are like, okay, then you have a pretty good chance of doing that in the NFL. If you can do that on the Big Ten level, I also think you have a pretty good chance of doing that at the next level. So, like, you're right. Hutchinson, I think, performed very, very well this last year, and I think he showed that he can be a really, really good player for the Jaguars. So I'm in total agreement there.
Cool. Hang on. I had to change the order of this one for me. So we all agree that a quarterback should have been taken in the first round. Multiple, honestly, from a lot of mocks that we did. I'm going to go ahead and ding the Steelers here too. You had Malik Willis on the board. You had this big bromance thing with him for how long now? You like him. The kid has had this massive amount of upside, and you didn't take him. And you took the guy that I feel should have gone in the third round, not the other way around. I feel like Malik Willis should have gone to the Steelers at 20. I'm sorry. Like, I know he doesn't fit your scheme. I know. But how well was your scheme working with Ben Roethlisberger? Like, do you really think that your scheme didn't have holes in it? Sorry. I know they're a good team. I know they have a good franchise. I know they're not stupid. They're not the Jags. But still, tool your stuff to Malik Willis. It's not like your receivers are jumping off the board anyway. Sorry, Deontay Johnson. But, like, and Claypool, whatever.
Hey, you can't really say that when you've had a mediocre quarterback for the last 2.5 years.
That's what they're going to get, is a mediocre quarterback in Kenny Pickett. That's why I'm like, your system doesn't work. Like,
yeah, I don't necessarily like Kenny Pickett to the Steelers, but in the Steelers' mind, he's the most NFL ready. Yet he does not have the most upside, but he's the most NFL ready out of the bunch. That's what they're thinking. You know, they're not looking at the hands; they're looking at the heart. You know,
why? I feel like this is like how the Grinch stole Christmas. His heart grew like 4 size. But you know what I mean? Like, that's great. That's fantastic. But the last guy you drafted out of Pitt actually was good. James Conner was actually good. Kenny Pickett, on the other hand, had one good season. So the last guy that had one good season, I could be very wrong. The last guy that had one good season that I beat up on, I will remember this. I picked on Joe Burrow relentlessly. Relentlessly, I picked on Joe Burrow. I said, absolutely not. You draft him, you suck. Now, Kenny Pickett is different, though. This is not the same situation for me.
Trubisky also had 1 year, and that could be more of a comparison.
Yeah.
But look where they played. He played in the SEC.
Right.
Kenny Pickett's playing in the ACC. Clemson wasn't it this year. You didn't exactly have to play anybody. Yep. North Carolina wasn't what it was supposed to be.
Yep.
Who did you play? Notre Dame? Ooh, congratulations. All of our teams could beat Notre Dame with their eyes closed. Georgia would have whooped them and sent them back with their defense. Penn State would have ran all over them, and we would have just passed to death with Bryce Young. Notre Dame is not impressive. Like, who did you play that makes me say, ooh, Kenny Pickett is ready? He's got it. Even worse, in the rain and like elements, the ball slips all the time. because of I'm guessing it's his hand size is what they're saying it is. I don't know. But the point is, you're about to play in Pittsburgh. You're from Pittsburgh. If you can't handle the weather from Pittsburgh, why is he playing in Pittsburgh? Like, stupid. I will always remember this draft as the dumbest draft of the Pittsburgh Steelers for taking Kenny Pickett, and then I'm going to ruin one of my busts, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. George Pickens. Only because his talent is great. You're going to give me all kinds of hell for this, and I'm ready for it.
Oh, yes, I am.
That's okay. I like him. I do. I don't like his off-the-field issues. The last time they had off-the-field issues was Antonio Brown, and that blew up their whole like decent core that they had going.
But that's why he's going to be good, is because every Pittsburgh receiver has off-the-field issues, and they turn out to be half decent. So
I know, and I hate it. Like, stop doing it. But I don't know. I can't get behind Kenny Pickett being the guy. At most, I'll give him 5 years. I don't think he's going to be the next Big Ben. I really don't.
No,
Malik Willis, on the other hand, could be around for 7, I think, give or take. Depends on the whole line in front of him.
Smith.
Huh?
Or he could be Geno Smith.
He could be Geno Smith. You're right. He could be Geno Smith. Actually, that's a really good comparison. I haven't thought about Geno Smith in a long time.
I think about him every day. What are you talking about?
But anyways, that's my 3. Does anybody else have any redrafts, like 1 or 2? Anybody that you would have flopped? I'm guessing the Atlanta Falcons is what's going to come out of your mouth in a second.
No,
my mouth as well.
I don't. Troy Anderson, I think he has a lot of raw hype, and he was quarterback to start, and now he's playing linebacker. He's got a lot of upsides. I'm not really upset with any of our picks that we made. We got a bruiser at a running back from BYU.
Yeah, he's good.
I didn't really like Drake London, just to think about it, but he has the pedigree. I've been watching the tape. He's actually pretty good. I don't know how he does what he does. I still don't know how he does what he does. I don't understand how he makes separation with mediocre feet, but time will tell. But I'm banking on it. And, well, if a team I felt we needed to redraft at a position, it was the Patriots every pick. But the first round pick, why would you jump up in the first round to get a guard? And then a guard that no one knows about, when there were 2 other offensive linemen on the board who were better than him. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Charles Cross and Kenyon, what's his last name? Kenyon Green were both on the board. They were both on the board, and they chose Strange.
No, Cross got picked at 9, I think, by Seattle. But even then, yeah, there were a lot of them
but
better.
They had Kenyon Green, who's graded PFF graded way better than him, and they chose Strange. It just didn't make sense to me that you.
It is pretty strange. I agree.
You go out of your way to make these bonehead picks, and then expect people to really be okay with it. And I wouldn't have. And for Chicago, I wouldn't have picked Jones. I would have went in the round and tried to get some kind of offensive lineman, whether it's a guard. I'm probably better off trying to get a guard, somebody to help with the run game, just to help get things moving just a little bit. But that for me is my 2 biggest things I felt like needed to be addressed. They just did nothing for the offensive line. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had the Bears as well. There were a lot of players on the board in the 3rd round they could have taken that would have helped out their offensive line immediately. I also have the Falcons taking Jameson Williams instead of Drake London. I just think that, for me, is they've done pretty well with Alabama receivers. And I do like the bully ball kind of thing. Like, oh, you have 6'5" Drake London, you have 6'5" Pitts. Like, that's nice. I think it could work at times. But for me, when you have Kyle Pitts, who is definitely at some point going to dominate the middle of the field every day, I just really want a deep threat for the Falcons on the outside. So what?
Hold on. You didn't even say that's really good for 2 6'5" guys. That's nice.
Yeah.
But you guys are sleeping on Olamide Zaccheaus. You guys are sleeping on his ability to play the slot. You're laughing. He can pop the top. He's done it before. His first catch was a 78-yard bomb for a touchdown. The guy has potential. He's an undrafted free agent. I feel like he can play the slot. If you can get a guy to play the middle, to be a Devin Hester or a Wes Welker or even Nelson Aguilar, somebody just to hit that hitch route, turn inside, catch that ball, and go. And then you got these big guys commanding all the double teams, one through the middle, one on the outside, and then you got this guy running through the middle. Then you got Cordell Patterson. You have tools. You can't just simply overlook something because it feels irrelevant. But when you have to use what you use, that's how Cordell Patterson became one of the best running backs, best two-man players. And
Zucchini.
Sorry.
Don't be sleeping on Alameda.
I was going to say,
he could
whatever
be
his name is, Zacchaeus was a wee little man, and a wee little man was he.
Oh, that's a good one.
No, I mean, I like the pick. Like, it's not like a reach for me. It's not one of those picks where, like, really? Like, no. But for me, when I did the mock draft, when I was thinking of where guys would go, I just think Jameson Williams might have been – because, like, will Ridley even come back? Maybe. They might get rid of him. If he does, like, that's pretty darn good. Like, they're going to have a really good core then, and the London pick will make more sense, I think, if that happens.
Maybe they are. Maybe that's why they took London. They're banking on Calvin Ridley to come back because Jameson Williams would have been a speed kind of guy like Calvin Ridley is. Yeah. So
maybe they don't. Yeah, because they could have gotten Garrett Wilson. They didn't want to change gears. I guess they didn't want to change gears to try to hold place. That would be a good spot. Like allow Alameda to be a placeholder and carry the load for this year, and then the next year they'll make a decision on whether they'll play Mariota or Ritter. If Ritter progresses in some kind of way and takes the starting job year one, maybe there's a better situation because they'll have $100 million to play with. So they have a lot of great decisions to make next year.
They do.
Then they have the Texans taking Ahmad Gardner instead of Stingley.
Yes.
Just because, I mean, I love Derek Stingley. His freshman year was insane. But beyond that, he didn't really do much. Gardner was like an 87, a 3-star prospect by 24/7 Sports coming out of high school. Like he worked his way up to what he is now, which is truly impressive. Not saying that Stingley didn't, but like coming to LSU being like a 4 or 5-star, you're automatically just put in that limelight right away and already labeled like a god because that's what LSU corners, LSU receivers are kind of known for. But Ahmad Gardner really he took it up a notch and he didn't allow one touchdown. He was truly dominant. He reminded me a lot of Jalen Ramsey, and the Jets taking him at number 4 reminds me of Revis Island, So I think it makes a lot of sense for the Jets. I just think the Texans, it took a lot of good players, but I think maybe in this draft they probably could have
question marks.
Yeah, they probably could have taken better ones. Stingley's not a bad pick. I'm not saying that. I just think Gardner might have been the better pick. So.
I agree.
Makes sense.
Let's do busts and grades next week. Mainly because I'm hungry and tired. But that being said, thanks for hanging out with us, guys. We hope this has given you some insight to the 2022 NFL draft. Come with us next week. We're kind of expanding out our talks on it because truly this was one of the weirdest drafts we've ever seen, and there's lots to talk about. But marking your calendars, we are ready to talk grades next week. Thanks for hanging with us, guys. See ya.
Peace.
See ya.